Hello and welcome to my another channel, YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about Java, and we're going to talk about for loop, do while loop, and while do loop, do while loop. Sorry about that, and arrays, abstract classes, polymorphisms, and so on and so forth. So we're going to talk today about a for loop. Let's start with the for loop. So what's for loop? So the for loop generally is a control flow statement that iterates a part of the program in a multiple times. So the for loop is going to start with a we have our for starting with for, and then we have our condition should be anything, and after that we have our brackets, and inside the bracket it should be the code, and then let me just zoom that. And that's how for loop is working. So what is while loop? While loop is a control flow statement that executes a part of the program repeatedly on the basis of a given Boolean condition. So bear in mind, so whenever you are using a while loop, you have to use with the Boolean data type, right? So I'm gonna have my Boolean and then condition, and then how it's working, the brackets, and then I've got my code over here. Then I have do while loop. So what is a do while loop? The do while loop is a control follow statement that executes a part of the program at least once, and further execution depends upon the given Boolean condition. So how that's working? So I've got my do while loop, then the brackets, and inside the brackets the code is coming before the while loop, so the code to be executed. And then after that I've got my while loop over here, and then I've got conditions. So I'll give you example with all of them, so you don't need to be worried what's going on, so on and so forth. So the for loop, we're going to start with the example of the for loop. So how that for loop is working. So I give you examples. I've got my main method over here, so let me remove that one so I don't need it. So this is the for loop, yeah. So I say for loop, and then how it's working, it's working like this: for brackets, I'm gonna say any integer assigned for a number one, and I say if the assigned number is less than or equal 10, then assigned number is post incrementation. Then I've got my brackets, and inside the brackets I say that system dot print line, print I for me please. So it should print I. So we're gonna run the program and see if there's any error. Right, the error is here. Sorry, I didn't print it. I didn't. System, so syntax. So let's run this one again. There you go. As you can see, that's 1, 2 to 10. So it's printed. That's for loop. That's the general thing about a for loop. So how's the while loop is working? The while loop, as you can see, is here. So well, I'm gonna remove that one again. So I'm gonna go over the while loop is working like this. So I have my while loop, and I say integer, any integer. Again, I will assign it to number 1. And I say while I is less than or equal 10, then system the print line I for me. Then every time post incrementation I. So it's not a big, but the conditions coming before the system out. That's why. So let's see. There you go. So that's the output. So that is while loop. So what's do while loop? The do while loop, the condition, right? The condition coming at the end. So that's do while loop. All of this again. Do while loop. To do while loop again, I'm gonna say integer I is equal to 1. Then I say do this one for me, please, first. Alright, I'll say computer, do this for me. Do what? Do system dot out dot print line I. Should we put at the end? And I plus plus post incrementation while. So you see, I've got my condition at the end. While I is less than or equal to 10. See if the code is working. There you go, there's no error, and that's it. That's fine, absolutely fine. The code is working perfectly. So yeah, that's for loop, while loop, and do while loop. So I give you much more example. So we come through much more detail in what is for loop. So if I have a loop inside another loop, it's called nested loop. So if I have, so let me remove this one. If there is a loop inside another loop, it's called, what is called nested loop. So I give you example of that as well. So let's deal with the example how this one. I've got a loop inside another loop. This is called. So I've got my loop of I for integer I as equal to 1, and then I is less than or equal to, for example, 3, and then I say I plus plus. I've got my brackets, and inside of my loop I've got another loop. So if I have, for example, I say loop of j for loop, and I say this one j, right, j equal to 1, j is less than or equal to 3, and j post incrementation plus plus. So I have to close the bracket with one more bracket. It should be no problem, and let's see if it's working. No, it's not working. So I've got 2, 3 brackets over here. Let's see if it syncs fine. There something wrong, which is I forgot to open that one, which is right now. So at the end I say system inside my second loop dot out dot print line. So can you please print I, which is the first loop, and plus my second loop, which is J. See if this code is working or not. There you go. You see the code is working. So I've got 11 to 33. So the code is absolutely fine and it's working. So this is called nested loop. If you have a loop inside another loop, it's called nested loop. So I can have more example, and I can just change this one to anything and can get different outputs. So this is called a nested loop. So let's go to another loop. This is a for loop. This is a branch of a for loop. This is called for each loop. So what's for each loop is used to, the for each loop is used for array. So it's used for array, which is, we know array is a collection of data. So if I give you example, it can be much more clear of that what's going on. All right. So how the for each is working. The general idea of that is it's working like this. I've got my for, then I've got any sort of arrays inside of my for loop, and then I've got my code to be executed over here, and that's it. So this is the general thing. So we give you example and you can be much more clear of that. So I've got my class, I got my main method. So then I'm gonna remove this too, which I don't need it. Then I'm gonna remove that one as well. So then I say I'm gonna declare an array. So bear in mind, if you do a for each loop, you have to first of all declare an array. And I say integer r, which is array, is equal to 1 2 3 4 5. Alright, then semicolon, and then now I say print array using for each loop. Then I have my for loop integer what? Integer I, which has been declared over here. Integer I. Then I say system out dot print line, print I for me. Let's see if it's working. It should work. Sorry about that. There you go. It's working 1 2 3 4 5, and the code is absolutely working. So this is called for each loop. What's the next thing with the for loop? So for loop is a big environment, and you have to understand what's for loop. So the next thing I believe with for loop is we have labeled for loop. So the label for loop is we can have a name of each Java for loop. To do so we use label before the for loop. So the syntax is like that I have my label name over here, and then after my label name I have my for loop. Inside my for loop I have my initialization, and then I have my condition, and after condition I have incrementation or decrementation. Alright, and then after that I have my code, to be executed, and then close the bracket. So if I give you example, you can have much more information on that as well. So let's go to here, and then let's delete this one, and then let's start something with label for loop. So the label for loop, you have to understand that using label for outer and for loop. So I'm gonna say AA. This is how you have to declare for integer. I call it j equal to 1, and then let me call this one I, not confuse you, and then I is less than 3, and then I plus plus, open my brackets. Let's just next to the second outer for loop, I'm gonna call it the label. I call it B. You have to understand that. And then I got my another loop, and in this loop I'm gonna declare this one as a j, my integer 1, and I say j same thing to 3, and then I say j post incrementation. Again I close my, and then here now I go for if statement. Now inside my if statement, so I've got my initialization. You see, this is the initialization, right? And then inside the initialization I say condition. I tell to this part of the code I'm gonna have condition for you to be executed, right? So I have if I is equal to 3 or 2, because I've got 3 over here, right? So I've got 1, as you can see, and I've got 3 over here. So I can say if I is equal to 3 2, and or j equal to 2. Then I say break statement of A. Then at the end I have my system.out that's print line plus j. So let's see if this one is working. So this is, I have my, again I'm gonna say this is my initialization, I have my condition, and then I have my incrementation, post incrementation and decrementation. So let's see if this code is working. I'll run it. See, there's no error and the code is fine, absolutely fine. So this is called there you go, 11, 12, 13, 14. So it shouldn't be printed like this. It should become like 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. So this is yeah. So the next loop you have to understand is, which is with for loop again. infinitive for loop. Infinitive. Alright, infinitive for loop. So what's infinitive for loop? The infinitive for loop is used for if you use two semicolon in the for loop, it will be infinitive for loop. So if you use two semicolon inside a for loop, it will be an infinitive for loop. How is that working? So the syntax will be like this. I've got my for loop, and inside my for loop I've got two semicolon, and then I have my code executed here, and that's how it's working. So the example will be something like move this one. So this is infinitive for loop. I've got my method here. So I say for loop, right, and inside the for loop two semicolon, and then after that I have my system out dot print line. Please infinitive for loop. Can I do that for me? Let's see if it's working or not. We have to wait and see the output over here. There you go, infinity for loop, thousands of times it's going to be infinity for loop. So that is called for loop. So let's move to next thing, which is while loop. So what is while loop? As I give you example before, so the while loop is used to iterate a part of program several times. So the while loop is like something like I've got while the program is doing this, while the condition is doing that. I want the condition, and then can you please execute the code over here for me? That's how the general structure of while is working. And code, and then sorry, close brackets. So I'll give you few example of how while is working. So the while loop is working like this. Integer I is equal to 1, and then I just initialize assigned data type to a 1, and then I say while, bear in mind, while I is less than or equal to 10, can you please system.out I for me, and I said the incrementation is coming at the end of that, which is I post incrementation. Let's see if this is working, which is gonna work, right? There you go. I got 1 to 10, so that is called while loop. This is while loop. So we have different sort of while loop. As well, we have infinitive while loop. We have, I think, yeah, the main one is just infinitive while loop. So I give you example of infinitive while loop. So what's infinitive while loop? The infinitive while loop, let me remove this for you so you can have a clear idea. The infinitive while loop is if you pass a true in the while loop, it will be infinitive while loop. So how was the for loop? Infinitive for loop was when you have two semicolon inside your for loop is infinitive for loop. But when you have passed true into the while loop is infinitive while loop. How is that working? It's going to be like while this condition is true, right? While this condition is true, then the code should be executed. And that's how it is. So I give you an example of that. Is something like while I have my true statement over here, right? While true, then please send the pass dot infinitive while loop. Let's see if this one is working. Error, yeah, I forgot a semicolon over here. There you go, infinitive while loop, infinitive while loop. So it's going through like this, but I'm gonna put Control C and just gonna stop it. Alright, so let's terminate it. So the next thing will be a do while loop. So what is do while loop? So as I give you example, a do while loop is the condition is coming at the end of the loop, and the do while loop is to iterate upon a program several times. So the do while loop, you have to bear in mind, the do while loop is executed at least once because condition is checked of the loop body. So if I give you example, so I told you to the do, I give you example of that, so how it's working, and you can have a clear idea. I can delete that one. I say integer I equal to 1, and I have my do here, right? Do this one, please. I ask the computer or my program do system dot out the print line I and I plus plus. Then I have my, what's it, after the brackets, right? I have my while loop here. Then the condition is coming at the end, right? It's not like a do loop or for loop. The condition is coming at the end. It's less than or equal 10. See, the code is working. It should work and have no problem. Let's see if it's working. There you go. So absolutely working. So the same thing is going with the do while loop. We have infinitive do while loop is the same thing like a loop when you pass a true and do while loop, right? So if the true is going at the end over here, if the true statement going at condition of the end here, so this is called infinitive do while loop when you pass a true at the end of the loop. So I hope you understand what is for loop, what is do loop, and what is do while loop. So I give you 3-4 example of each of them. I hope everything is clear for you, and thank you very much for joining me today. Thank you.